goes far and wide. We'll learn along as we break it all down. Marissa, Looney, Joseph, and Ryan, the best hosts in town.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Podcast The Sequel, where we discuss the good, the bad, and the continued. I'm Marissa.
I'm Manira.
I'm Joseph.
And I'm Ryan.
And with the recent release of Sonic the Hedgehog 3, today we're going to be discussing Sonic the Hedgehog 2. But before we get into its sequel, we're going to briefly discuss the first one, which is Sonic the Hedgehog. So before we get into that, I know we always discuss numbers with this one. So do you want to
the box office. Yeah. Released in 2020, $90 million budget, $320 million in the box office.
Can I guess? I was like, can I guess?
Cinema score was an A. What I found interesting when I was looking into this film, that they've been trying to make this movie since 1993. The reason it didn't get moved forward and they didn't greenlight it is because of the failures of Super Mario Brothers and Street Fighter.
Also a great movie.
Because of those critical hits, that's why this movie was just stuck in production. It got sold, I believe, to DreamWorks at one point. They were going to do something with it, then they didn't. Then it went to Sony, and that's now where we get this one. I was personally very excited for this film, and then the first design of that Sonic came out.
Can we just put that up like right there?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love how they brought it back for that Chip and Dale live action movie. I forget what the name was.
Oh,
was
that's
so
a
good.
great movie.
Dude, I remember when that trailer dropped and just being like, what the hell did they do? Like, how did they make that creature, whatever the hell that was? Like,
I just love that so much like public backlash forced a redesign.
yeah.
Like that's what's insane to me, that if you had enough voices to like have a negative effect or even a positive effect on something, that like they would have to go back and change it. That's wild to me.
Well, it's crazy too because they you have the source material.
Yeah.
Just
Yes.
go off of that.
Yeah.
Like you have the animations and like the models and stuff from like the recent video games.
Yes, and that's the thing, like, too, where they had to bring in the people that made the video games to fix it. I'm like, why isn't that the first people you talk to in
Yeah.
creating a semi-live action CGI Sonic movie? Why weren't they already involved in the production of this film? Like, that design was wild. And even Ben Schwartz, who voices Sonic, he was like, and I saw it, I did not know I was voicing that. Like, I thought I was voicing the Sonic that we eventually got. But yeah, that was just a terrible design.
Well, can you imagine if we
horrible.
actually had like an actual hedgehog, like a round little like roly poly looking
Like
thing,
live.
like a live hedgehog, and it would just happen to have like blue fur. Like, would that have worked? You think?
I don't know which one would have been worse.
I honestly feel like that's what they were trying to go for.
Yeah.
Like is like a mix between both. Like we're gonna do our own thing.
Yeah.
Don't.
Well, no, because I like respect like a certain level of like I'm gonna make my adaptation of this. Like when they kind of do like think like West Side Story. That's technically an adaptation of like Romeo and Juliet. So like if you were to like kind of go off of inspiration like that, maybe you could have made it work. But if you're gonna call it Sonic the Hedgehog, I feel like you kind of have to make it a certain design based off the name. Like if you were gonna make it like Larry the Hedgehog.
Yeah, if it was an original idea. Yeah.
Sure.
That's what that was.
Especially since
Larry the
like
Hedgehog.
Sonic is a 90s thing. It's not like it was an older.
Yeah.
It was like in that time, yeah, it came out 2020, but it's still fresh in everybody's mind at the time. Like,
It's not as old, yeah.
yeah, so like that design you have to kill it if you're gonna do Sonic. So for them to do that, but like you said, I do love that they went back and fixed it.
Yeah.
Like most studios would be like, whatever, like don't watch it then. Like we're still gonna drop it. So the fact that they went back and like they fixed the eyes, the shoes, the mouth, all that, I do appreciate that they actually made that change because God, it would have been horrid, dude. And now I'm actually scared if they did make Sonic in 1993, how that would have looked.
Who would look like
I feel like
Super
it probably
Mario
would have
Bros.
been more like animated.
Yeah.
No, it was going to be a live action CGI thing too. That was their plan.
Yeah, but even like think like Roger Rabbit, like still animated,
It's animated.
live action animated. Like that's how I feel like it kind of would have went more in that direction of like animation versus like a CGI digital kind of thing.
I feel like it would have looked like a terrible sci-fi movie.
Could have, yeah.
Sci-fi channel movie.
Do you know what month this movie came out in?
February. It came out on Valentine's Day.
Oh, because when you mentioned the numbers, I was like, this movie came out during the COVID pandemic. How did
Right before.
So
Yeah.
right
It was
before?
right before. It was in
Okay.
February. Yeah. I think
it was, like,
technically March
March.
was the month. Yeah, we all
When
shut
everyone
down.
shut down,
Yes.
yeah.
Whenever
Yeah.
they shut down.
Which it was.
But it still made how much?
$320 million, which the opening weekend was Jim Carrey at the time second biggest opening weekend, just behind Bruce Almighty.
So you're saying he was flushed with cash?
I
Good
like
for him.
that he did it in the second one.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
popped me.
Yeah.
That got me good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I
Good
didn't see it
little-
coming. I was
good
like, that was
little
pretty good.
Yeah.
This movie was directed by Jeff Fowler,
Mhm.
and he really doesn't have that many credits under his
No.
belt. The only real thing that was like big at the time was I think he won an Academy Award for a short film.
Where the wild things are.
No,
That's the
he.
only
That's
thing I
Spike
know
Jones.
He did.
I want to say he
I thought
produced
it was in
produced Where
did
the Wild
something
Things Are.
Where the Wild Things Are.
Oh, he might have done something.
No, it was a short film that he did. I'd have to look up the name of it. I don't think I have it written down. But he won an Academy Award for his short film, and I feel like that kind of pushed him to a level to where they were like, "Oh, we'll give him this feature length film."
Oh, go for broke.
Yeah. So, I mean, he had done stuff, I think, with Sonic before, or like was involved with it somehow. So I think between that and then having this win, I think really kind of elevated him to get this property and kind of go forward with it. And obviously he's done every movie with this franchise so far. And I don't think he's done anything much more than that,
He
right?
hasn't done anything much, but
Yeah.
just from what I'm reading, so you mentioned that he worked on Sonic. So he worked on, he was a CGI movie producer for the Shadow the Hedgehog video game in 2005.
Okay. So then, yeah. So
Okay.
he had some sort of like involvement with the idea, with the everything before.
Yeah, but Sonic the Hedgehog is his first feature-length film.
Yeah. Good for him.
Yeah.
That was a great, I mean, that's a first great introductory film.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's an award winner.
An award winner.
that's true.
Yeah. And now
Um,
currently has the 2 highest earning video game movie adaptations of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I feel like when I hear a lot of people talking about the first Sonic or even the Sonics to come, I feel like a lot of people talk about obviously like Jim Carrey being Robotnik, which like we'll get into how great he is, but I feel like we really need to put a spotlight on like Ben Schwartz voicing Sonic. I feel like he was an incredible choice for it. I think he was very comical. I think there's certain things that are out of his control, like writing, that maybe didn't stick so much, but I feel like we always have to remember with these movies like this that they're kind of half and half, right? They're kind of half for people who grew up playing Sonic or know about Sonic, so now potentially adults who have kids of their own, and then they sneak in these little references for kids of their own. Like I know during like the time that it came out, that what like floss dance thing was super big because of like Fortnite or whatever have you. And like he does that, I want to say a few times within the movie. Obviously it's not going to hit for some people, and for others it is really funny, right? And the kids are going to be like, oh my god, this is Fortnite or whatever they say. So, but I feel like overall Ben Schwartz did a very good job voicing Sonic, in my opinion.
I agree.
I agree too. I was looking at who was supposed to be the voice of Sonic. So they originally offered it to Chris Pratt. They offered 2 roles to Chris Pratt.
Yeah, I was
They
about to
offered
say,
him
yeah.
the role of Tom, so James Marsden character,
Pass.
and Sonic. So they gave him the option to do one of them, and he passed on both of them because he went on to do
Everything else.
Everything.
That
Yeah, like
motherfucker
literally
can do
everything.
everything.
You can't
else.
voice every single
Yeah.
character
You
that
can't
comes
be
out.
Oh, what has he done?
Franchise.
Garfield, Mario, yeah.
everything.
Sick of him.
They also offered the voice of Sonic to Tom Holland.
Yes.
Josh Gad was in consideration. Bill Hader was in consideration. Jim Parsons was in consideration. And for Tom, they also went to Chris Evans and Paul Rudd. They offered it to him, and he rejected the offer.
I probably could have seen Paul Rudd. I probably could have seen. Yeah.
Was
Paul
Bill,
Rudd I could have seen.
Bill Hader was supposed to be Sonic?
Yes.
I could have seen that too.
I would have.
Yeah, I could have seen it.
I
I
could
could
see
see
maybe
it,
like
but
a
just
menacing
just screaming
Sonic.
and just upset all the time.
Just doing his like,
Upset Sonic.
yeah, it's me, Bill Hader. Doing my little
Yeah, he
shtick.
does kind of have like more of a nasally, nerdy, like inside outy kind of voice.
Well, I just think of like Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. 'Cause
Oh.
of that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great movie.
We'll get there when we get there.
We'll get there. You said who else? Tom Holland?
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland.
I feel like that would have been good for the first movie, especially because Tom Holland has this like
They could
needs
like, young
to
Sonic.
grow up kind of thing about him.
yeah.
Obviously, he's not that old. So, and I feel like with Sonic, like this movie is very much like he like this whole thing
Sonic's a
about him
kid,
being
right?
like a kid
Yes.
or very
Well,
or
yeah.
kiddish. He's a creature.
He's a thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think they really give him an age or
They
anything.
call him a kid,
Yeah.
and they're like, well, how the fuck
Well,
old is
especially
he?
the second one.
Yeah,
so
when
you're
like,
like,
it's
you need
kind
to
of.
grow up.
We'll
Yeah.
get to that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Josh Gad was another one, which I would have been.
Do you want to build
Nah.
Yeah, I would have passed
Pass.
on that. Jim Parsons.
No.
His voice would have taken me out.
Who's
Yeah.
Jim Parsons?
Uh,
I can't picture.
Big Bang Theory.
Sheldon.
Sheldon.
Oh,
Yeah.
fuck no. No.
I like Jim Parsons. I feel like I've seen him do other work that's
I've
just
only seen him in
like
Big Bang Theory.
I liked him in one thing, and it was Garden State. Yeah, you go back and watch that. He's like his the
I'm
one
just
guy's
not a
mom's
fan of Garden
boyfriend.
State. I'm not a fan of Garden State.
I haven't seen it.
I didn't say it was good. I just said he was.
I know.
He had
You
an
bring it up.
interesting
You
role.
do bring up that movie a lot, quite a lot. We're just throwing it out there.
Yeah, and the Chris Evans thing was so close to happening. There was like actual like concept art that leaked online of Chris Evans
And he was
as
supposed to
Tom.
be
With
Tom?
no, yeah, he was supposed
As
to be Tom.
Tom?
See, and I don't see him being Tom either.
No, I think James Marsden was.
Paul Rudd would have been, I think, a fine choice too.
Paul Rudd
I would have been cool,
fine.
Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
I feel like he. Well, yeah, and then also I think I wrote it down, but like James Marsden doing movies with animated characters. I feel like he's almost typecasted in that now because he did like Hop, and even if you want to get into like Enchanted, technically speaking, it's more animated, but like
That movie PTSD.
I know
Well,
we all have a thing with that movie,
See, I
but
think
well,
of him. I think of Cyclops.
he also
Yeah.
he also did he was a voice actor in this, but he also did Cats and Dogs: Revenge of Kitty Galore.
I feel like
Yeah.
That's the second time this comes up on the podcast.
He was in that.
Cats and Dogs?
Yes.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, you brought it up
we brought
before.
it
Yeah,
up.
we
Every time
that's the
we brought it up.
second time on the podcast.
You bring that movie up a lot. What do you think?
I'm so sorry.
And that's a sequel. We're gonna do Cats and Dogs.
Oh,
Down the
definitely.
line.
If you want to watch us do that one next,
That's a bridge we're gonna
just
have to
click
cross.
here. But yeah, he does like strange. I feel like he's just kind of like in. Does he have kids? Is he married? I was
Good
gonna say because
question.
that would make sense to me if he was just doing these
These
movies
kids
to
movies
like
for his- yeah.
for his kids
A lot
because
of
I think
actors do
that's
that.
I think
Yeah,
that's
that's kind of the
cute.
move.
Yeah, I think that's cute. That's a good move.
He has 3 kids.
Oh, okay. So then yeah, maybe.
He's kind of in that middle ground too of like of an actor who does. He's like, I don't want to say like attractive, pretty boy, but like that. But
He's
also,
handsome.
but
Oh, he's
with
de-
also
oh
being,
no, he's definitely attractive.
but also being like kind of goofy, silly.
Yeah,
I think it works for him.
Yeah, that's why they're like, oh, just go with him.
yeah.
He could do Hop.
Oh, I like James Marsden. I think he has like a, especially in this movie, he's kind of got that like younger dad kind of vibe. I don't know how much I buy him as like a cop, but like,
No.
I do in that setting where it's like not very serious. There's
oh
no
yeah, like kind of
small town
small
cop,
town,
yeah.
yeah, very small
There's
town.
only
Yeah.
like 2 of them, isn't there? Like there's like only 2 cops in that town,
Yeah, it's
basically.
him
Yeah.
and the
the
other-
trainee.
Yeah, I'm like.
I think he's very charismatic. That I think it works for him as Tom. I didn't have a problem with him. I love Paul Rudd, but I think I would have. I like Tom better as James Marsden than Paul Rudd. I feel like Paul Rudd would have just overtaken a lot of things that were happening in the movie.
I think Paul would have played the role he plays in those new Ghostbusters movies.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I feel
fair.
like that would have been his role in these Sonic films.
Yeah, well, yeah, because technically, like, who's supposed to be in the star in this movie?
Sonic.
Sonic.
It's supposed to be Sonic. So
Yes.
if Sonic's not the star, then it would be the villain, who's Robotnik. So, and I feel like that's once again like going back to what I said. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
You mostly hear more about like Jim Carrey being Dr. Robotnik, which, like, don't get me wrong, Jim Carrey's great. I feel like we can all agree on that, especially like knowing his past and everything like that. His age, I want to say he's
In his 60s.
in his 60s now.
Yes.
No, is he's
Maybe I want.
I got you guys.
No, not 70. He's like 62.
60. Yeah.
okay? I was gonna. Oh no, he's 61.
62?
Oh, is he 62?
We just talked about it. That's why.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I feel like we just brought
We
up his age.
bring
Oh,
up Jim
got it.
Carrey a lot as well.
We do.
because We love
do.
Jim Carrey.
We
Yes.
do love Jim
We
Carrey.
do. James Carrey.
James Carrey.
I think he did. Yeah, I think he does a great job as Dr. Robotnik. Obviously, very like physically comic actor.
Yes.
Yes.
Very able. I mean, I definitely have an issue more so in the second one, but we'll get to that. That's
Yeah,
more of a
yeah,
personal
that's-
thing. But
yeah.
I liked the note that Sonic loves Keanu Reeves and calls him a national treasure in this movie. I think it's a very fun nod. And
Too, yeah.
I don't know if they had Keanu in mind for Shadow in the third
They
one.
did.
But I think that that's fun,
Yeah.
like a fun little play, fun little note.
I know we talked about how much we like Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik. So he was not originally the actor they had in mind for the movie. Sorry, Joseph. So
Is that
the
yours?
person that they originally gave the role of Dr. Robotnik to, and he accepted it, then turned it down, is Sacha Baron.
Sacha Baron Cohen.
Yeah, that guy. I was like
Borat?
Borat. I was like the dictator Borat. That guy. It was originally supposed to be Dr. Robotnik.
I mean, Isla
I could
Fisher's
see him
ex.
doing
I could,
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could see it. I don't know if he would have
I
been
don't know.
necessarily right
I don't
because
think
it
so
was
either.
more of a kid-friendly movie.
Yeah, that's where
Yeah.
I think like I would.
Yeah, he would have been maybe a little too inappropriate.
But I mean, he's done things that are not necessarily like Borat level,
Mm-hmm.
like with Talladega Nights,
Mm-hmm.
but he still kind of toes that
Still,
line.
yeah,
Yes.
he's very
I feel like something about the characters that he plays that I've seen him in, it's very creepy. Like I always get his from Les Mis.
Oh, I don't remember the character's name, but it's
the master of the
yeah,
house, whatever
yeah,
his name
master,
is.
yeah.
It's just very creepy. He just creeps me out every time I see him on screen. It's just something. His characters always are just creepy. But I guess
He's definitely got like a villain vibe going on.
Yeah.
Like I feel like in most movies I see him in, he's typically like a villain of sorts.
But
So.
I do agree with you. I'm glad they went the Jim Carrey route.
They also weren't going to go with Robotnik originally to be the villain. It's supposed to be some reptilian creature that had one of like the Chaos Emeralds in its head. That was like one of the original concept ideas. Because in one of the concept arts that leaked, it was like Chris Evans and Sonic versus this random reptilian creature that comes from Sonic's world that's like hunting him down. So
You mean the bad guy from the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movie?
Oh, the reptile, crocodile,
lizard.
lizard.
Yeah. Okay. I wrote in my notes. To me, when I first saw Dr. Robotnik and like Jim Carrey's Dr. Robotnik, I was like looking at him and I was like, who does this guy remind me of? Like when they show him and they introduce him as a character, and I was like, I feel like Dr. Robotnik for me is like if JP from Grandma's Boy had a dad in the military.
I don't know what you're talking about.
She's never
He's
seen
old because
it.
he's very much that guy who's like, I'm smart. I know I'm smarter than you, which makes obviously me better than you.
And
I'm
he
way
does the
cool.
robot thing too.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does that like.
Sit on my face.
Yeah. But he's just like classic nerd who thinks he's cool, who's like like he's trying to like show off and show that he has power when in reality he has people that are stopping him. So, but I don't
Which
know.
I dug that character arc of him just being that way and then just losing his mind
Yeah.
towards like the end, and then obviously in the second.
Oh
one,
yeah,
it's
the
more-
second one.
Yeah.
That opening scene we'll talk about, but I feel like sometimes a lot of in this movie there's a lot of like quips that are a little bit too much. I mean, once again, I say that with the preference of earlier stating that this full movie isn't really not for us at all times. Like it sometimes is for kids. But I mean, like there's like the floss dancing, I can't get behind. And then there's like quips where I feel like they mentioned Vin Diesel a few times in this movie where he's like, I feel like Vin Diesel. And I'm like,
In both films, they mentioned Vin Diesel.
yeah, just like, I mean, little unnecessary sometimes.
Which is funny because this movie was almost PG-13 because at one point in the script or in the film itself, and they had to cut it out, Sonic says badass, and the MPA was like, no, he can't say that. If he does, we're going to get a PG-13 rating. So they just scrapped it completely, and they just to get the PG rating. And then I guess the studio went back to them being like, that's bullshit because what's that mall cop one with Kevin Smith?
Paul Blart.
Yeah, in that
That's
movie.
Kevin Smith?
No,
I know
Kevin
who you're
James.
talking about.
Oh, I was like, get out.
I was like, hold on.
Yeah.
My brain melted for like
Yeah,
half.
my
a
bad.
second.
I was like-
My bad.
I know what you meant, though.
He says badass. It's a PG movie, so they're like, "Why'd you make us cut it? Would have been funny." I think he calls Tom a badass. That was originally supposed to be in the film, so it would have been a
Oh.
PG-13 movie had they pushed that, which is insane.
Do you have? I feel like
Oh no.
Oh, okay. You
in
looked
my
at me,
head,
so I was like-
yeah, we're gonna have to do fucking Paul Blart soon too.
not
Dude, those bad boys.
I've never seen
not
that.
soon. Not soon. We don't have to do this soon. Amongst all of this, like comedy, and you have like these actors portraying these characters and everything like that. I really feel, and I'll say it again in the second one. I feel like these movies do have like touches of sweetness, like the scene where JoJo, who's like I think the niece of the main character's wife, or Tom's wife or whatever, gives him the shoes. I think that's really sweet. Like where she's just like, oh, I noticed like your shoes and everything. And so I feel like these moments in both films do have like that touching side where there's like, it's always about like family, about being like your best. And I feel like this is another time where like you have one of these movies where it is for kids for sure, and teaching them moments like, you know, be good, like, you know, do what's right, even though nobody's watching kind of thing. It teaches them like about family and loyalty and like, you know, trying to be your best and like, you know, all these things. So I always find movies like that really touching when they try to like, you know, connect with kids on an emotional but also strengthening level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Sometimes.
especially like in the beginning when like he has to leave Longclaw. That's the name, right?
Yeah.
Of the owl.
Mm-hmm.
And like I feel like the whole movie is trying to find like a home also
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
be accepted. And then he's always getting hunted down by
Yeah.
you know Robotnik and everything. So I think him and Tom's relationship I really enjoyed.
Yeah,
That
it's very
grew
like
from where they meet.
adopted
Yes.
father,
Mhm.
big brother kind of if you will.
And the second one too does have something with Knuckles where I'm just like, okay, there's messages in there. Yeah, it's obviously for kids, but there's things there too that I'm like, I love it. I dig
Yeah.
it.
I know they touch a little bit more in the second one about like the whole owls and the and everything like that, but I feel like I want like as a personal viewer, I almost want like a little bit more on that backstory, on like the owls and kind of like where they came from. Like maybe they'll do a Sonic prequel at some point. I don't know.
I have a question. Riffing off of that, I've never played the video game. Do they ever introduce the owl in the video game, or
Yeah, that
because I
part
just
of it.
know
I don't
Sonic's
remember.
home is Green Hills,
That's beyond
which is
me.
a town
Yeah,
in this one.
If they do, it's probably in like the newer aged ones where it's like not a side scroller, it's like a 3D world that you can explore.
Mhm.
It just gave
If
me
I had to
like
guess.
what is that movie? Rise of the Guardians.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's what it gave me. It
Yeah.
gave me like those vibes, and I was like, "Is there a connection here?" Because I never played the video game either. I just saw like the Sonic cartoon as a kid.
I think the
Right.
only game that actually kind of broke it down was Sonic and Knuckles, the game. But like the first two Sonics for the Sega Genesis never really had much of a story. You're just
You're
beating
just Sonic.
Robotnik every level
Yeah.
and going through the levels. And,
Literally a platformer game.
Mhm.
Got it. That was one of my questions too. Was like the whole like owls and
Mhm.
such. I think I went to look it up, and then I ended up getting sidetracked somehow. So
Well, do we want to throw a rating on this bad boy?
Yeah.
yeah,
Do
I
we
feel
have
like I don't
anything
really
else
have.
to do?
I don't really have much to say about that.
Oh, I do have one more thing to say. Just something silly at the end where he's thanking him for like his service, and he's like, "Yeah, a little token from Uncle Sam," and it's a freaking Olive Garden gift card, and like it shows up again, like they mention Olive Garden again in the sequel, and just like not to get too personal, but as someone who works for Darden, I just was just like the biggest of eye rolls. Of just like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love my company. I love Olive Garden. I think we've been there twice in like the last 2 weeks, but
We almost went last
I was
night.
just like, where did this plug come in? Like who?
You want because when you're there,
You-
your family.
I mean, yes,
and you
I
know
get
who
it.
cares about family?
Olive Garden.
Vin Diesel. It's full circle.
I feel like we should have eaten Olive Garden tonight. Shout out to Olive Garden. We love your never-ending pasta, soup, salad, bread.
It's all about the soups and the salad.
No, it's all about those breadsticks. Can we use hashtag Olive Garden now? Because I'm in, man.
I mean, you can.
Oh, that peach tea too. Oh, so good. Anyway, rate, please.
Go for it.
Go ahead.
I just want to say that I was never the biggest fan of Sonic. I tried the video game when I was younger. It just frustrated me, just like the Mario games, because I could just never get past like the second level. It's not my forte in video games. I had no expectations watching this movie. I think the first time I watched it on like a flight, and I had such a great time watching it that as soon as I got home, I watched it again because I was like, I need to watch it on a bigger screen, not a little 5x5 screen on the back of someone's chair. That I really enjoyed the movie. I think going into it with like zero expectations, I was not disappointed. I laughed more than I thought I would. I did enjoy James Marsden's character and Sonic's like little connection relationship and how it progressed from start to finish. I kind of wanted more from him and his wife, but I understand she's just like a side character. I also really liked the apprentice cop guy. I just think it's
Oh, his
silly.
like deputy,
Yeah, which
because he's the sheriff, right?
he's a deputy sheriff, but I know they're doing like a spin-off of this one that's on Paramount, so there's a Knuckles spin-off show that's on Paramount, and Knuckles takes Deputy something, and they basically tag team and go on adventures together. So I thought that was cute. I really liked his character. I honestly have nothing really bad to say about this movie. 4 out of 5.
Are you telling me that you watched this movie on a plane during COVID? Rough. Terrifying. Joseph?
Yeah, I watched this movie 3 years after it came out. I wish I would have watched this sooner, because I was a Sega Genesis kid, so I did always love the character. I used to watch the animated show all the time. So I was very much looking forward to it. I think Ben Schwartz did a phenomenal job voicing Sonic. The action, the entertainment level was great to me. I think Jim Carrey was awesome as Robotnik. The fact that they kind of took him out of retirement, he was like, I want to keep doing this. I'm having fun with this. I enjoy that. I love that for Jim. So I had a great time with it. Not enough to like nitpick it. There's some things I'm sure I could, but just entertainment wise, I was entertained big time. So I'm at a 3.5 out of 5.
I agree. I think it was just like a popcorn flick. You know, like I went in with zero expectations as well. Pleasantly surprised, I would say. Like it hit the notes that I would want it to hit, but I do feel like what you said with the dancing and stuff. Like it's also for children as well. And I think that will come into play more with my rating in the second one. For this, I am also at a 3.5.
Very cool. Very cool. I don't know.
5.
One.
No, I don't hate this movie. I'm once again, I'm very torn, because like I try to look at it from like a child's, or like what I feel a child's view of this would be. And it's very fun, creates a fun world. I mean, I, once again, would love a little bit more from like where Sonic is from, a little more backstory on like what the fuck are these owls and how did they get a hedgehog kind of thing. But I mean, who's to say we won't get that in the future? So I don't know. For me, I same thing. Like it's more of a popcorn flick. Like if it's on, I'll watch it. I feel like it's one of those movies where like, I don't know, it's always on like Paramount, Hulu. I feel like if it was like a TBS weekend, I feel like it would be on one of those. Very easily enjoyable. Love Ben Schwartz. Always love Jim Carrey. So it's kind of hard for me to not like this movie. Not like this movie. But I feel like I can't really give it, like, out of some of the movies that we've talked about, and obviously we'll get into it eventually, I feel like I can't really give it too high, too low. So I feel like I'm just at like a 3. Like when I think about it, it's just a very base, like if it's on, it's enjoyable and I'll watch it, but like it's not like an Academy Award winner for me. It's not something that I feel like we can really go into too much discussion about. So it's just like it's a good time.
Yeah. And by us giving it like a 3, that in no way says that it's a bad movie.
No,
it's just a very middle
it's
of the
just
road.
middle ground.
An enjoyable. That's why I aired with a 3.5, because I'm airing more on the side of I enjoyed it more than like.
And I'm
like
also
2.5.
I'm also on the mindset too, where like this could have been way worse.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, it could have been
was.
so bad. Like the story,
really,
I feel like
really
they
bad.
did well with the story. Like, yeah, it's one of those like movies. Like I said, like it's a Saturday morning. You're watching, you're flipping through the channels. TBS is on, and you're just like, oh, what's their movie of the morning? Yeah. Oh, it's Sonic. I'll throw that on while I'm like
not thinking much about it.
Cooking, vacuuming, doing whatever it is. Like you can kind of just, you don't have to really necessarily watch it from start to finish. I feel like once you kind of know the story or the gist, or you've seen it before, you can kind of just kind of come in and kind of go out of it and know exactly where you're at, get some few laughs. It's a good time. And then you can also bring the kids in there. So, I mean, you don't have to send them to bed and have this be a 8 to 9 p.m. movie, if you know what I mean, parents.
Yeah.
So, anyway, moving on to Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which came out 2 years later, 2022. Same director, Jeff Fowler. I do not have any stats for this, so if I can throw it over.
Budget was 90 to 110 million. Box office 405.4 million dollars. Same cinema score of an A. So both films have an A cinema score. This one obviously made way more money, but also this is after COVID. So that played a role. Little bit of bigger budget. Jim Carrey obviously returns, and this is his highest 3-day opening weekend ever. This film.
Wow.
So which is
I've really like, I feel like there's been so many interviews with Jim Carrey coming out of retirement, and then also the discussion of him making sequels, which I have thoughts on it. Like, I feel really weird about it. Like, I understand like he's making money, and I think even for like the third one, he recently came out and was like, I just want to make money. I need money, kind of thing. And I'm just like, he doesn't have, or he has one kid. One
At
kid.
least one, yeah. Yeah, there you go.
So I just question like, what is he doing? Where is his money going? I mean, where is any of our money going? But I mean, like,
Might
I
be
don't
for
know.
their future or something.
Well, I
like
feel
that.
like he just came out so hard and so like guns a-blazing on like, I don't do sequels. And then here he is making his second sequel in nevertheless, like, it's like we said, it's not a horrible franchise, but like Sonic, that's your like, does that mean like hopefully many, many moons from now when he passes, like, is it going to say Sonic actor passes at hopefully like
would
90s?
trigger me.
Absolutely not.
Kinda thing.
It'll
The
be.
Riddler and Dumb and Dumber actor.
It would
I
be
was gonna say Ace
actor from
Ventura
23.
or Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, that's what-
Well, no, because like I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, Jim Carrey, like my first, like I feel like well, yeah, like my first experience, I feel like with Jim Carrey was like one of three things. It was either Liar Liar, it was either Ace Ventura, or In Living Color. Those were my like
Ooh,
Jim Carreys.
nice.
Those are my first three. I mean, obviously we know him from other things.
Yeah.
Like I've even seen like The fucking Majestic. Like, you know, like I haven't seen Eternal Spotlight or what is it? Eternal
Sunshine.
Sun-
Spot-
yeah.
Garden State.
And
Jim Carrey.
I hear it's great. I'm not
good. I've never seen
knocking
it
it.
either.
I'm
Okay.
sure it's one of
good.
his best movies, but
It's not one. I mean, it's just a good movie.
Yeah, I
but
just never
I'm
had the
yeah,
chance.
but I'm throwing it out there. So he has done sequels in general. He has done 3 technical sequels, and he has done 4 of his own sequels. Those being 2 Sonic movies, Dumb and Dumber, and Ace Ventura. The sequels that he's done in general, which he has not been in technically, in the original and in the sequel, but they're still technical sequels, are Kick-Ass 2, Anchorman 2, and Batman Forever.
Well, I mean, Anchorman 2, it's just like a bit part. that
It's
he
a bit,
did,
yeah. So I'm not saying like I'm not really counting those as sequels because obviously like Batman Forever, he was in 1.
And the Kick-Ass 2.
Kick-Ass, he was
so
only in the
against
one.
it too.
He was so against it too. So I mean like, but I feel like I don't know. It's and as an actor, as a person in general, you have every right to change your mind on like stating something now and then 20 years later like something happens or you need money or whatever happens. I'm not saying he doesn't have the right to reserve his mind or to change his mind. I think he's a great actor. I would never like say he isn't, and I enjoy him. He brought a lot of joy to my childhood, but like I don't know. It's just it leaves like kind of a weird taste in my mouth that you're just so against sequels, and then here you are doing the Sonic sequels.
And I think I know what interview you're talking about when he was like, I would do the Grinch 2. I would do the Mask 2. I'm like,
Too little, too late.
yeah. I'm like, I don't.
broke my heart,
The
Jim Carrey.
nostalgic stuff's not gonna. It's like we don't need it. It's like, especially he's like, well, the technology now. I don't need to wear the suit and all that. It's like,
Yeah, but that's what made it
Yes,
so great, and that's why
exactly.
we love Jim Carrey is for his practical efforts. Like he doesn't use a lot of CG. He doesn't use, anything like that. It's just hit, and I think I feel like we have to respect him at a certain level because we don't get a lot of those type of actors anymore. We don't get a lot of physical comedy or actors who are kind of willing to like bend and break and stretch and kind of, go to a different level. Like he's very, like a lot of people call him like cartoony in a way. And it's not to be like disrespectful at all. He's just, he has this amazing energy that he brings, I feel like, to every character. So that's why I'm like, I hate kind of almost like talking negatively about his view, if you will, on these sequels, because you don't have to do any of these sequels. I feel like bring him in anything, like continue to have him in movies. He's great. I just feel like he maybe should have thought of that comment a little bit more.
no, yeah, I agree. And like just physical comedy too. Like that's one of the few notes I have for the second one was like he wanted to wear a fat suit. Like he wants to be Robotnik from the games.
Eggman.
And Eggman he
Yeah.
wants to be that. And the studio was like, nah, we don't need that. Like it's not. And he was like, I want to do it. Like for this new one, the third one, he grew out his hair. So they could have a scene where they cut the hair and his hair's like long as shit in the third one. It's like he wants to do it, but so with those comments about the Grinch and being like, well, technology now, I could just like not really have to be there. I could just kind of do like practical. Like it's not what I would want for Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Like, I want to remember the Jim Carrey that we had and just keep that as what it is and preserve his legacy as that way.
Yeah.
Doing all this other stuff, I'm like, I don't know what his money situation is either, so I don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know his personal life, and especially the comments he's made in the past about Hollywood and his Jim Carrey's just a character inside another character. Like all those words that he says, now him saying this, I'm like, that's kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
But
I don't want his legacy too to be like a sequel, like Jimmy Stewart. One of his last movies was American Tail, Fievel Goes West. I'm dead serious. Like I don't want that to be like I want him to end on a movie. Like maybe it's Sonic 3, right? Maybe he retires. He's like, no, I'm over it. That's done. And like, great, you did a successful franchise and that's cool. But like, heaven forbid he's like, no, I want to redo The Mask, and they try to redo The Mask and it ends up being like not great, and then he ends on that. Like, can you imagine if Kick-Ass 2 was his last movie? That's awful.
Terrible.
Like, I don't want to remember Jim Carrey that way. Like, maybe he wants to go out that way. He has every right to. He has free will. I'm just saying, like, I don't know, somebody, like, I know that we all grew up watching Jim Carrey like in different movies or TV shows. It would upset me as a fan to see him go out like that, and not on like something that's either his Oscar winning role or something that he like truly is like idolizing. Just not that.
Damn.
Yep.
Did a lot of his comments recently, did it all have anything to do with, because I know like a few years ago he had like, traumatic things happen in his life.
Mhm.
Did all of it, maybe he had like a new outlook on life after that?
he says the Sonic movies brought back the fun in doing films again.
Yeah, because I know he gave up Hollywood. He was doing, I think the weirdest time that I've witnessed Jim Carrey in the media and Hollywood was when he was very into the fashion scene, which I was like, interesting. Like he was front row in like New York Fashion
That was his
Week.
paintings.
Well, that was something that he was doing to like help with his, and it
with
did
his
help.
grief. Yeah,
Mhm.
so I was thinking maybe that's why he's doing it.
It was like a healing process for
Yeah.
him, and then as soon as he did, he was like, all right, I think I'm in
Yeah.
a better place
yeah, he
now.
just had so
And
much
yeah,
stuff
and
going
once again, he has
Yeah.
every right to change his mind, and I'm not knocking him for it. Just like I feel like that's when you're in the spotlight like this, and you're obviously like your entire life is watched. Everything you say is going to come back to bite you, especially in this day and age when we have like your Facebooks, your Instagrams, your Twitters, your whatever. Like people will come back and they will remember what you say. So there's almost this like defense mechanism that you have to have as an actor or somebody who's sorry, I know I said that weird.
An actor.
An actor.
For cinema.
A minotaur. But I mean, I feel like there's just, for someone like Jim Carrey who's been in the industry long enough, I almost feel like he's almost kind of like eating his words in a way. Like if he kind of acknowledged it maybe and said like, oh, I know I said I would retire, or I know I said that I wouldn't do sequels and now I'm doing this. I don't know. It's just, maybe it's just like this, I don't know, it's striking this weird chord with me that he said all that.
I feel like I never trust anyone in the media when they say that they retire. That they're never.
That's
truly retired.
true. Yeah.
Exhibit A, Tom Brady, who came back a few months later.
No.
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan. Tom Brady didn't retire. Tom Brady retired and retired.
He's doing commentary now.
Yeah.
But
He
didn't
left.
He
No,
retire
he
from
left.
the NFL, then came back.
No.
I thought he did.
No, we didn't.
I don't know.
I don't
No,
know enough
He
about
left
Tom
the
Brady.
Patriots. We're getting into sports.
No, he went
Yeah.
he went to another team.
Yeah.
But
Just
even
left the
who's
Patriots.
that?
He went to Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Who's that actor that did retire? He did Phantom Thread.
Oh, Daniel Day-Lewis?
Yeah, like
Yes.
when he said he was doing his last movie and Phantom Thread was it, I was like, oh, he's somebody I respect. He's somebody that I would take seriously. And now he's coming out of retirement.
In his defense, it's for his son's movie, though.
I mean, yeah, but if you know that your son's going to get in the industry, or if there's any inkling at all whatsoever, like why would you definitely retire without definitely retiring?
Maybe
So that
his
you
son
could come
asked
out
him
of
to
retirement.
and make more
I
money.
just,
I'm out of it. I'm back, bitches.
I feel like that's just such like a cheap move in certain
and it's
circumstances.
also like, it doesn't really matter. Like, people say a bunch of shit. Like,
I know, just
You
like
can always
I don't know. It
change your
takes
mind
later.
it's
people
like
grow.
I know, just for someone like Daniel Day-Lewis, like I just like I respect his like craft. I feel like he's one of the very few actors that like do this, like do this work purely for the sake of the work and not necessarily for the paycheck or the fame. I feel like he truly likes being an actor and portraying a character that's not himself. So it like once again I'm like, what's the reasoning for coming out of retirement? Yes, maybe for like his son's photo, but I just, I just question it is all I'm saying. Like he absolutely, one of those actors deserves to come out of retirement. I would love to see him in more stuff. Like when he said he was retiring, I was like, man, like you could still do so much more. You could get another Oscar. You could, have this lifetime of a role, but I don't know. We're here to talk
With
about
that being said, let's talk about
Like,
Sonic.
We're going to talk about Sonic.
I have
I'm
a
so sorry.
question for everyone about Sonic 2, which blew my mind when I watched it like a couple hours ago, like yesterday. My whole life, I thought Tails was a girl.
I could see why you would say that, yeah.
And I told Joseph when he first popped up on the screen, I was like, isn't Tails like a girl and that's Sonic's love interest? And he's like, no, Tails is a boy. And I was like, are you kidding me? For 30 years, I thought Tails was a girl.
He's voiced by a girl.
Voiced by a girl, yeah.
Same
Who's been
voice from
voicing
the
her.
animated and all that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She's done a lot of, like, I looked up her
Done a
history.
lot of- yeah.
Colleen O'Shaughnessy. Am I saying that right now?
Oshak Hennessy?
O'Shaughnessy. She does the voice of Tails. She did works like Digimon, Naruto, Sailor Moon, Danny Phantom, Static Shock, Ponyo.
Ponyo.
I knew you would like the Ponyo, so I threw
love
that on there.
Ponyo.
She's done multiple other things, but I just...
But was I the only one that thought Tails
Yes.
was a girl?
No,
I think
can
I
see
just
it.
never thought about it. I
No.
think I just always thought of Tails as like a kid.
It blew my
Yes.
mind when they
Yeah.
introduced Tails like towards the end. It's like Miles, like when they explain like where, because they say his name at the end of the second one or towards like the end of the second one. She's like, I'm Miles, and I was like, excuse me, you're a boy? I don't know why. It just threw me off for like a good like 10 minutes. That was it. That was my comment that I had to share with everyone.
You're not alone in that. You're absolutely not alone with that. I can absolutely see why you'd say that. I thought that for a time, but then I was like, oh, it's a boy, I guess, because they explain it. It's almost like when I found out that Samus from Metroid was a girl.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think I always forget that Sonic and his friends are kids. Maybe that's why.
Well,
Well, that's the other thing too. Is like, well, if they're kids, how old is Knuckles? Like,
Yeah, because Knuckles is a full-blown man.
that's a grown ass man.
grown ass man.
Dude, beating up little kids, I
Yeah.
guess, if you want to put it that way.
Great
Best
addition to
voice.
voice cast, I think,
Oh, yeah.
though. Idris Elba.
Yeah.
Who originally was supposed to be Jason Momoa. That's who they had offered it
No.
to start. Yeah.
No offense to Jason Momoa, just
No.
not for me in this
Love
role.
you, but no.
He
I
dropped-
think Idris Elba is he was my vote for James Bond.
Yeah.
I think he would have been a hot James Bond. I'm just
Are we
saying.
giving it to him or the guy from Bridgerton?
Which one? Which
Season
one?
1.
Oh, the main guy? Nah, he seems too not douchey. What's the word I'm looking for?
Arrogant. Full of
Feminine?
himself?
Effeminate?
Effeminate?
Maybe. I don't want to be too out of. I don't want to say it. Yeah.
almost did.
I don't want to. I don't want to say too out of pocket.
I
But
was like, I don't know.
no,
yeah, because I don't remember Bridgerton at all.
he just seemed too. Yeah, he seemed too fragile. I don't know what word I'm really looking for. It just wasn't a fit for
also
me.
He was
Like,
too
he's
British.
Back in the day.
Oh, I was like, are you checking something?
He's done with Bridgerton.
Yeah, I'm out.
He's like, no, I'm done. The first thing I wrote down for this movie was the opening scene where Jim Carrey, Dr. Robotnik, is in the robot planet, and I was like, oh my god, he's making mushroom coffee, and I was like, how timely, because that's like all the rage right now is mushroom coffee,
Shroom coffee.
and even like the coffee later when he comes back to Earth, and he's like, needs mushroom. Like, I think that's fun, like a fun little joke for all ages.
I love how sad Agent Stone is too.
Oh, when
After he
he's
says that, he's like, oh,
he's making the design and
like,
the
Yeah, he like lives for him
the
for
cup of
yeah.
coffee. I think that's funny though. That like, could I love him anymore?
Oh yeah.
I was gonna say he reminds me of somebody from a movie or a TV show. I can't remember. I don't know, like a movie or something that we watched recently where the sidekick is just in. He reminds me of Mr. Burns and his friend from The Simpsons.
Oh.
Whatever his name is his
Well, yeah, but that's I don't know if
It just their dynamic.
Smithers?
Like, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I
just
was like,
in
what
love
is his
with
name?
him.
I don't know if because like with Smithers, it's like a sexual like.
Yeah.
I have.
I don't
a
think
love
he's
for
in
him.
love. I think he's just infatuated with him.
Yeah. love
I
his
honestly
mind.
don't. Yeah, I honestly don't know.
It might be platonic. It might be
We'll never know.
something else.
Guess we'll find out.
But I do know that Dr. Robotnik smells the electricity in his brain.
The flossing continues in this movie.
Yes,
Still not a fan.
the Vin Diesel jokes. It's still in this film.
I also I'm also coming from like a place of like, I never really played Fortnite. I know like when we first started talking, you were all about the Fortnite. That's what you were playing.
I mean, I wasn't all about it, but yeah, it was one of the things in heavy rotation. I would say. Yeah.
I mean,
Not
to
wrong.
me, it like, I find like somewhat nostalgia, I guess, or like happiness, and like, because for us it was like when we were first starting to talk, so for me it's like a happy like memory of it. But I personally never played Fortnite, and it's not my thing.
It's definitely changed over the years. That's for fucking sure.
Oh yeah, I mean like with kids and
Gotten worse
everything,
and
like
worse.
yeah, I mean I'm also like from the perspective too, like I am not huge on video games in general. Like I've played video games, but it's not my like day to day. Like I know you guys are all video game people.
Sweats, man.
I would just like to say Ryan and I were a great Fortnite team.
I'm
seen
sure
it.
I'm
We got
sure you
solid
are.
wins under the belt.
I just deleted it last night.
Sure you are.
I lied. I was like, I'm washed. I can't play with these damn kids anymore, man. I'm deleting it. They're on winter break. I'm out. I'm out. I can't do it. I'm like, they're so good.
Well, yeah, you take one shot and it's the whole
It's
structure.
ridiculous. This film, I was very frustrated by it because I didn't really have the fun that I felt in the first one. There's some moments in there that I did enjoy, but for some reason, and you guys could absolutely disagree with me on this, I felt like Sonic was like, he felt slow to me. And this is a guy whose main characteristic is speed. When they take the car, I'm like, brother, you could just run, and he can fly. Like, why are you guys taking a car? I know they hit Knuckles with it, but like, you guys could just take off at any point. The scene when they're doing the Russian dance, and you see like the map on his shoe, like Sonic, you can straight up just go, boop, boop, got it. So I know they have to like add storylines to it, and they have to add obstacles to a story.
Yeah.
But there were some moments where I'm just like, I wish that he would. I just didn't think they used like their actual powers to show it off more into the film. I had a problem with the music during the action scenes, just nitpicky stuff right here. I wish they would use some songs from the actual video game for like the final battle in the third act. I think that would have been kind of cool.
Okay.
It would add a layer to it. Just I think kids would have enjoyed it too because the music's fun, and then us adults would have been like, haha, nostalgic, you know, would have been great. The wedding stuff.
So unnecessary.
Oh, man, and it was
So
so
unnecessary.
lengthy. Like that's my biggest issue with this film too. I'm like, you could have cut off
30 minutes of this movie.
and I would have been cool with it. The whole
Well-
CIA agents like
Yeah.
implanted and him
Oh, I didn't
trying-
like. Yeah, I didn't like that.
Yeah.
But I understood that they needed to get, like Tom and his wife away because like the story's not about them, and then they also needed to show like Sonic being like, this is like his teenage stage, right? Where like he's kind of like finally being left on his own, and like kind of like he's the man of the house, if you will, but he's like kind of destroying the place in the process. So like I get that they needed a reason for them to not be like in the scene, and I thought that was a great, like, yeah, like the sister's getting married, so like they're away on this trip, right? But there was no reason for what's his name, Shamir, the actor that plays the agent. He's in like he's in Criminal Minds.
Yeah,
Yeah, that dude.
I feel like it's like
Forgot you.
Shamir Jackson,
Hold up here.
Shamar Jackson.
I don't know. He hung
Anyway.
up a man too, though. While we're on the topic of that,
He hung a man.
he what?
Oh,
did you say?
my god.
Shamir Moore.
Shamir Moore, thank
Shamir
you.
Moore.
I'm sorry, I'm still
I
sick.
said he is a hunk of a man
Yeah.
as well, and now it's fucking weird that I had to explain it again.
I'm sorry.
I'm not mad at you. I'm just like,
think
as
it's
the
funny.
words are coming out of my mouth, I'm like, why am I saying this? And it's because of the volleyball scene.
Not
So you say he's a hunk of a man, is what
No,
I'm
he's
hearing?
just like, he's muscular.
yeah.
He built.
Yeah, he's decent. He's a good. He's a decent
So
dude.
I guess I'm open-minded as hell.
But can we talk about his character? Is the worst.
Yeah, the wedding was just so lengthy, and like them using like Tails' equipment and stuff. I'm like, okay. I'm like, I wish Tails would have used that. Just I wish Tails had a little bit more. I don't know. I just felt like it just felt.
There were so many
stretched.
side characters
Yeah.
happening. Yeah.
I feel like, and I understand your point of you want the movie to be about Sonic, like watching him on his own. They could have easily just gone to Hawaii, be like, hey, we're gonna go
Some
on a
time
couple
away,
retreat or
yeah.
something. She could have a work conference, and he could accompany her to Vegas on a veterinarian
And he
conference.
just
or
calls in
something.
every now and then.
Yeah,
Like, how you doing,
like,
buddy? And he's
I
like
didn't
trying to make
need-
sure like everything's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like if the sister wanted to get married, fine, make it like a little side plot. But the CIA thing was just
There were ways to do it.
unnecessary.
There were right ways to do it, and I feel like they just they just added a chunk in there that to extend the film, and it wasn't necessary to me.
Yeah, you could have just shown them like, hey,
The best
we're gonna go on a
part,
trip.
the
Done.
best part was when his phone rings and it's the ringtone from the music from Sonic.
Sonic.
Yeah.
I don't know why too, but I really like the imagery of showing Tom throwing the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know why it just like felt right to me in some weird way, but I liked having that image of him throwing the ring, and then it's funny because it ends up being the ring from the wedding, so it's fun.
And that's the only reason that scene's in there.
Yeah.
Is to get a reason to use the.
But once again,
have
you
a
could have
ring
had
joke.
that and not had Shamir Moore be an agent. Like,
Yeah.
why did he need to be an agent? It didn't really
Plot
play
twist that
into.
nobody thought would happen.
Yeah, it didn't really play into anything.
Well, especially when they like reconnect
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and they're having a dog. I'm like, what movie is this now? I'm like, where are we? I'm like, can we go back to Sonic and Knuckles
where's
and
Sonic?
Robotnik
Yeah,
and all
where's
them
Sonic?
and what they're doing? I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't need this. This is
Yeah.
cool, but
Yeah.
Unless he was somehow connected to like finding Knuckles or something, because I know like they do, like you guys showed the end credit scene where like they show Shadow. Like, unless he's somehow connected to Shadow and everything, and they
Yeah.
kind of come full circle, maybe.
Maybe.
and yeah, because after that we never see him.
Yeah, we know.
again. That's
Yeah,
the
he's
last
just
time
kind
we
of
see him.
he's just kind of gone.
I think what annoyed me the most about the wedding scene from the movie is I can get over him being a CIA agent. I didn't care for after you find out where she's hunting him down to be like, you're not going to run away from me. And then he's just like, no, but I actually like love you. And they like reconnect. I'm like, I don't care for that. That's like 5 minutes. Like cut that entire thing out. Just didn't need
Operation Catfish was funny though. I got in trouble.
Yeah, that is pretty.
I was
that's
like,
pretty
okay.
funny.
I'm like,
Yeah, that was one of my notes too, because then they bring up Olive Garden again. They're like, they call him Olive Garden Man.
It's because when you're here, you're family.
I feel like this
Want
movie
breadsticks
had
now?
way too much exposition. Like the whole movie was just exposition shit.
Yeah,
Like 20 minutes of exposition.
yeah.
And then I also felt, I have it in my notes here, if I can find it. I'm so sorry. I feel like all of Sonic's dialogue, like every single line that he says in the movie, was just so that they could put it in the trailer. There's not really anything of substance there. A lot of it is just sound effects and like catchphrases.
Mm-hmm.
And then every once in a while there's like one little sentimental thing.
Yeah.
But it was all just designed to be like, boom, that's the trailer right there.
Yeah.
no.
I
No,
still feel like there is like some sentimental, like one of my last like little notes that I wrote down that I liked, that there was the mirror relationship between like Sonic and Tails versus like Sonic and Tom in the first one. Like you're kind of getting that, like now he's kind of got like a little brother that he has to look after, whereas in the first one he's kind of like this only child, and now he's, you know, like they're forcing him to kind of be a grown-up, to take responsibility, to be, I guess, like the hero, if you will. So to get someone like Tails, he's kind of showing kind of the ropes, and like Tails looks up to him in a way. So like, I don't know, I feel like that's sentimental. And then like also the end scene where like Dr. Robotnik's about to like smush them with his little foot, and he's like, you know, no, we're here, we're family, like we do this together, kind of thing. I feel like that's like touching in a way, like kind of, you know, I feel like for the rest of the movie it's not very fitting, but like for a singled like scene,
Yeah.
I feel like
Like
I feel it, yeah,
Like, one of
like-
the highlights I had for the film is when Knuckles and Sonic finally like,
have their moment.
yeah, and he's like, I need to, like when Knuckles breaks down, so like I have to realize you lost something too, and that's how they kind of bond in that moment, and that's why I feel like that's when you see that group come together, and I'm like, yeah, that's his crew now, and even Tom says that he's like, now he has his little clique, like he has his friends, so I did dig that parts of the film.
Yeah.
But it was just everything else. I'm just like, oh, man, like I'm not feeling the same way I feel about the first one, definitely.
Yeah.
I was very excited when they announced that they were going to make a Sonic 2. And I was not necessarily disappointed with this one. Just like you mentioned, like I was just not as enthusiastic with this one. Like I was just like, okay, next, on to the next. Like I was just waiting for this. This was one of the movies where I was like, just waiting for it to be over so I can be done watching it. There were certain scenes that I enjoyed. Like my favorite scene in this entire movie is the very last scene when they're playing baseball together. I just thought it was very wholesome, kind of like what you mentioned when we talked about the first one, where they had like cute, like little sweet moments.
Yeah.
I thought it was very nice, like seeing how Tails and Knuckles kind of become friends, and he's like, we don't know what this ice cream is. Let's go get ice cream. And he like picks Tails up and just carries him to the car, and then Sonic goes and just joins them, and he has his little moment with James Marsden when he finally calls him dad. I was like, aw.
I honestly
Now I want
didn't need
ice cream.
him calling him dad though.
It brought up more questions for me.
I'm
for
not gonna
sure.
lie,
Yeah.
I hated it.
I didn't. I mean, well,
cute, but
well, because I feel
get
like
it.
it didn't. Well, yeah, but
Yeah.
it didn't need to be
He
called
said it,
out.
Yeah.
Like it was.
It's
It kind of
implied.
went without saying. Like he almost could have said like he almost could have almost said it, and then you like kind of know what he means, and then they just drive off.
Yeah, because them stating that we're family is enough
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
that scene where they're like they grab hands
Yes.
together and they're there with
That's
him.
enough for me to be
Enough.
implied. I don't
Yeah,
need him to have a moment
enough.
to be like, "Thanks, Dad."
But
Like,
right before that, when they're like, she says, "Let's go get our kid."
yeah,
And I was like, "What?" And then like, yeah, now we're a family. And at
Did
the
they
end-
ever mention them having kids or
No.
doing anything?
No.
Because I feel like that would have been like, had they had a moment where like you knew, maybe like somehow you knew they couldn't have
Yeah.
kids, or maybe they wanted kids.
and that's why they go Hawaii.
like,
I don't
yeah,
know,
and that like or something, right? Like there's some sort of storyline that wraps around that, and then she said that. Then maybe you're like, oh, okay, like now they kind of got what they wanted. They got, they wanted a kid. Sonic's their kid for right now, and then like they go
I
get go to him.
think, I think they did that because of the scene when they're on the little boat fishing, and he's like, "Stop telling me what to do. You're not my dad." And there's like that weird, awkward silence. I think that's why they had that scene at the end. But I completely forgot about it because of all the things that happened in the rest of the film. I'm like,
Which like I know we're eventually going to talk about the third one, but I feel that's what I'm hearing a lot for the third one is that there's very much like so much side shit happening that like you can't really like focus on like the main train.
which sucks because the Shadow storyline is already enough.
Yeah.
Like that storyline in itself is already.
And I could
good
be
enough.
wrong. Like maybe the reviews that I'm just like reading or hearing are not correct, and they're not. I mean, like not to say that anybody's review is right or wrong, but like, we haven't seen it yet, so obviously we'll eventually talk about it. But I think that was my worry too going into the second one. Is just like you have two now present side characters with Tails and Knuckles, so like we're kind of getting introduced to two different people, but without having the storyline more so from like, okay, like we kind of get where Knuckles is coming from, and we kind of understand what he's after and why he's mad at Sonic. But then like, where's Tails coming from? And like, they mentioned that he's from another planet, and he like got this sense of Sonic was on Earth. So like, but where's his planet, and how did he, like, there's just so many questions left that I feel like we could have gotten maybe like Tails or something teased at the end of the first one, gotten him in the second one, and then maybe teased Knuckles in the second one, got him in the third one, and then they could have teamed up together in the fourth one against Shadow.
Yeah.
So many Sonic movies.
Or the thing
that's
is,
more money.
they
That's
did
more
a
money.
Knuckles series, so you could have technically done something there before the second one.
Yeah, you have a Knuckles series,
Yes.
so like, why did you need him
You
to
could
have?
have
So
add
then, yeah,
the backstory there, and then the movie could be where it all connects together. I feel like that was a missed opportunity for that, because I agree. You have all those storylines. You have
There's so much.
Robotnik back, then you have the wedding in the middle. It's just like so many places that you're going,
Yeah.
and there's not real. The pacing, I hated it. I really hated the pacing
Yeah.
of this film compared
Yeah.
to the first one. It's
I
just
think
it's
that was
all
my
over
issue
the
too.
place.
Yeah. I think the first one had good pacing where I felt like the movie it wasn't that long, it wasn't too short. I think it was like a decent amount. Where this one I was just like, it just dragged and dragged and dragged, that I was just like, I'm over it.
You almost could have taken it in like a more serious tone too, where you kind of did what they did with the Marvel movies, and almost like have this moment where you're getting teased about Knuckles, and then you kind of get this almost like prequel where you learn more about like the owls, you learn more about like, what is it, the echidnas? Is that Knuckles?
Echidnas, yeah.
And then you almost have that prequel movie, and then you tease Knuckles meeting Sonic at the end of the prequel, and then you get now your Sonic the Hedgehog 2, where you're bringing it all
them
together.
And I forgot to mention that there was a deleted scene in the first one where the owl actually survives, and she ends up dying from old age, but they took it out of the film.
I mean, yeah, because then you have more questions of
Yes.
like, where was she? Like, what's the purpose?
Well,
Like,
especially
where
if Knuckles could find, it's just there's so many.
there's so many. Yeah,
holes
it's
in the
open ended.
story,
Yeah, so many open ended.
But then again, I feel like they're like, it's a kids movie. We're gonna make a bunch of money. We'll just throw
That's
it out there and
true.
just
Yeah.
do this.
And then also, like, what was their relationship, so to speak? Like, is it a mother figure when she's like,
Yeah.
I
For
love
Sonic?
you, Sonic?
Yeah.
I saw it as that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
saw
I
it as
I
that.
just meant like, but like
I think
more
she
backstory. Is
Yeah.
I think Sonic's planet was destroyed or something, and she found him.
By the echidnas.
Yeah, I don't know.
I-
They mentioned in the beginning of the first one, she found Sonic and she basically took him in.
There's not enough runtime to fit all those storylines.
Yeah.
into
But that's
one
why
thing.
I feel like a
series where you can-
backstory,
yeah.
like an origin story where you see Sonic maybe growing up with the owls. You get that whole story, and then at the end it's teased with Knuckles, and then you get that second movie. It kind of bridges the gap between the two, and then we're not getting all of this like, okay, rush Knuckles backstory in there, and then you have Tails now in here, and you're kind of like throwing him in here, but you kind of don't know where he is, but he's helpful and he's the sidekick, but like, you know, does he deserve his own runtime? Like, is he enough of a character to have like his own storyline? Like, it's just, there's so much.
Yeah.
Because even like Dr. Robotnik, like, how did he come up? Does he get his own origin story? Like, where did he grow up? Where did he go to school? What was his family life like?
And I feel like there's gonna be more questions with that in the third one.
Yeah, and then I
Well,
feel
yeah,
like
and then they bring, yeah.
that's how you end up with like all these Star Wars spin-off shows.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then you're in that same boat again where it's like, well, now I'm sick of Sonic.
Yeah.
So I'm sick of, well, who's this? What's that? Now I got to learn about them.
Yeah.
It's Sonic exhaustion.
I think it's also like one of those where like, yes, it's a kids movie, but then I feel like to one like that, like where you get sick of it, I think if you start making more Sonic, like you do a prequel and then it comes out every 2-3 years, like they have like a new Sonic movie, the people that originally watched the first Sonic when they were kids, they're full on adults now. So I feel like it's going to be just like a completely different, not necessarily like genre, but like you have to appeal to the newer generation. Like I'm not going to want to, maybe, I don't know, like watch a movie that I started 10 years ago. Now I'm in like my 40s or 50s, like watching it again.
Yeah. I feel like we've also kind of discussed this on the podcast too, where like, and briefly discuss this, where there's almost like this generational issue now where because we have these generations brought up with, you know, like technology and iPhones and like everything is just so like you're quick to get it and it's everything is at the tip of your fingers and like information is available ready and now you don't have to wait for it or look it up or call it in or go to the library or search it up. You know, you're kind of in this like a shortened attention span. Like not to say like that this generation is, you know, like you need to keep their attention, but you almost need to. So like, is this information, is this backstory even worth going into for the people that are viewing this movie? You know, because like, yes, like at a certain point, like I almost come to question, like obviously we'll get into them eventually, but like we got through how many Harry Potter movies in how many years? And like people were willing to watch them and go through them and see the details. And like, yes, there's so many more details that they go into in the book series. They're going to make a show about it on HBO. But like at what point and at what level, at what year or at what age are we now foregoing background information, story information, plot points, everything like that, because, you know, maybe the audience viewing them doesn't have the attention span to grasp it or to like to take it in or to have the patience for it, you know, like because they want to know, like I want to know the character now. Like I don't want to like skip the whole thing. Who kills the character? I don't care about where their backstory is. What's the twist? You know, like they want that information now. So like at what point do we really care about the owls at this point? We probably do because of how we were brought up with like cinema and storytelling and everything like that. But maybe this generation doesn't really care to know that information. They just want to see the action. They want to see the results.
So that was one of my things is that with the exposition and stuff, I was like, man, I feel like I'm getting talked to like I'm a child. And I went, oh yeah, it's kind of a kid's movie.
Mm.
Yeah.
And then my other point was that it almost felt like in a very extended sensory video, so to speak, like kind of a little.
Yeah.
It was just like a lot of noises and just like, like a lot of just shit running around. I was like, I kind of get it.
I feel like it's so disappointing sometimes, like to think about. Like if that's the case that we're going in.
It's because you got to make a movie that it appeals to everyone, and it just falls into that sort of slot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is what it is.
And I think like the point you brought up with like Harry Potter, where there's like 9 or 10 Harry Potter movies, however long it is. I think what
She doesn't know.
I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of like Harry Potter, but I've watched them all. But I think with Harry Potter, that I think like appeal to a lot of people is that you see them grow up while you're watching it. They're not 12 years old for 9 movies. You see them grow up. They're dating. They're having their first kiss or whatever they do in Harry Potter. You kind of
Whatever they do in Harry Potter.
Yeah, whatever the fuck they do in Harry Potter. I don't fucking know.
All of
It's magic school.
all I was gonna say is that the difference between like this and Harry Potter is that in Harry Potter, I feel like they show you, they don't just tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when there's a backstory to it, it's literally them just dropping Harry off and being like, "Oh, I hope that all works out," and then you just kind of learn it as he does.
Yeah, kind of
Yeah.
learn it with him.
And then like even when they like in the next movie with the journal, not to go on a Harry Potter tangent, but they show you like, oh, this is what happens. He looks in the journal. It takes him back to the past, and he watches it happen.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Instead of being
instead
told.
of being like this, well, I created the Chamber of Secrets because this and blah blah blah. And
Yeah.
It's like I don't fucking care.
I think I'm just in like the mindset of like not this doesn't go for everybody and every child and every teen and every whoever, but like because we have such technology on our hands, like kids are learning, I feel like at a faster rate and they're growing up at a faster rate. So at what point does that align with cinema where, you know, like we should give our kids the benefit of the doubt at a certain point that they are smart enough to handle certain things and they can be mature enough to handle certain aspects. Like obviously Sonic's not going to be the movie that like, you know, takes kids into like the depths of their like, you know, child, you know, trauma or anything like that. Like obviously it's not going to be that movie, but like at what point, you know, do we look at these kids movies? You know, like a lot of kids TV shows are diving into like, you know, things like gender fluidity. They're dealing with divorce. They're dealing with, you know, like all this. Like, do you remember in the 90s when like divorce and, you know, being, you know, finding the same sex attractive was like unheard of. And now it's like you see it all the time, you know. So like at what point and at what level, you know, are we going to have these, you know, these movies that kind of cross that boundary, you know, with kids? Once again, Sonic is not that movie, but you know, I don't know. I still feel like on that edge of like, I feel like kids are smart enough to handle backstory, plot in general, twists, you know, kind of figuring things out on their own, or at least I hope that kids can be, and they're open to it at least as a cinema
Just
viewer.
gotta give them the benefit of the doubt, I guess.
Try to, but anyway, more for Sonic.
I had one other point for Sonic 2.
Yeah.
Who the fuck was watching after that dog? Did I miss
Oh my
that?
God, I totally forgot about the dog.
Sonic was trying to watch over the dog.
The house gets destroyed.
Destroyed and
And
then it's
they
Oh,
just
did
just
they have?
get out.
Oh,
And then
that
he's
would have
like,
been a
"Wow,
great
I'm on
after
the mountain
scene.
Now I'm skiing. And I was like, what happened to the dog? I was like, did I miss it? Did he leave it with the deputy guy? But he's like, no, he's at the
No, because
coffee
he's
shop.
doing that, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm
So,
like,
I don't-
and then all of a
That
sudden
would
it's
have been
just back.
such a great credit scene of them coming back and being like, Sonic!
One of the
They
six
just go- they
people
just
that
play
live in the
back-
town watched them. I don't know. Like,
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. They just go right into playing baseball.
I
Like,
thought
it doesn't
maybe,
matter.
yeah.
The house isn't
And the
destroyed.
dog was there, so I mean, obviously everything was fine. But like,
Maybe Sonic was smart enough and put it in the veterinarian office where
they didn't have
To be
time
boarded?
she owns a veterinarian clinic.
Yeah, but she's on vacation. She's not there.
Pretty sure there's another
there's probably
veterinarian there.
staff there, but
I
Staff.
guess.
that's a
Nurse.
reach. We're already like, well, maybe
I'm
that
asking
happened.
questions that
I like it that these are the questions we ask about.
I just think it's
Who's
funny.
watching that dog?
Who's watching that dog? Who's
Who's
feeding
watching
that
that
cat? You know?
There's a cat?
No, like in like Venom.
Oh, that's so
Who's-
right.
Who's taking care of
Oh, I
cat?
thought that cat was dead. Like, as much as I hate to say it. Oh,
I feel like this isn't the second movie we bring up about like what happens to the pets.
These are just the things that I think about when I watch movies sometimes.
we're an all-inclusive kind of, you know, storytelling bunch. Any other thoughts for Sonic?
I think we
Yeah.
had enough
All
Sonic.
Sonic out.
Oh, we still got to see the third one, guys. Don't worry.
We'll get there when we get there.
You know, it's a missed opportunity. We should have had Sonic while talking about Sonic.
We were at Target last night and I asked you, I said, do you want to buy Tails and Knuckles? And you're like, nah. So they're sitting,
meant the
Talking about the
restaurant.
food.
they're
Talk about
sitting,
the food.
She's not talking about
She
the
meant the
toys.
drive-through.
oh, Sonic the food?
Yeah.
We should have Olive Garden. More
Tater
for Olive
tots and a
Garden.
cherry limeade. Count
Would
me
take-
in.
oh,
Nah.
cherry. What's the thing that I
Endless
love that's
pasta
Sonic?
bowl.
Oh, the ice cream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fries and ice cream.
They got way too much stuff on the menu at Sonic.
Yeah.
They got hot dogs. they
Olive
got
Garden.
Burgers.
Chili cheese.
Ride or die Olive Garden.
Sonic would have been better though.
Nope, Olive Garden.
Times.
Ride or
They would've kept
die.
The theme better than Olive Garden.
Yeah.
We are not sponsored by
Unless
Olive
possible.
Garden,
No, we are
but,
Any of them.
but damn, I wish we were. All of the breadsticks. All of the breadsticks.
Yeah, I wish we were sponsored by a lot of things. You know.
So, you wanna throw up this rating?
Sure. I did not feel the same magic, so to speak, that I did in the first one. I'm at a 2.5.
Ooh.
Joseph?
Yeah, I hated the pacing. I hated the wedding stuff. There was a lot more things to hate about this film than the first one. It could have been done better, I feel like. So I'm at a 2 as well.
Wait, you did 2.5? Okay.
I really enjoyed the first one. This one just, same as you, like, didn't really have the magic, didn't really hit home with me for this one like the first one did. I only liked like a handful of scenes that came up in the movie. I'm at a 2. Your turn.
I know, I'm like thinking about it. I'm just like, yeah, I can't really give it above or below like a 2. You know what? I don't know. Yeah, I'll give it a 2. I was almost going to go like 1.5, but I feel like it's not that bad.
Yeah, that was my...
Yeah, it's not terrible, but it's not like...
It doesn't surpass 2.5. And
Yeah.
it only got a 2.5 just because there's other redeeming things. In
Yeah,
there.
I like Tails is cute. I feel like maybe having him be like some sort of like hostage character could have been like a fun little story addition, because like he doesn't know him, but he kind of sees him as like a little younger brother. I don't know, and I feel like the Knuckles and Sonic, like I know that they he's gonna kill Sonic, and then I feel like their drama, their like beef is wrapped up so quickly. It's almost not really believable. Like I get it, like he saves him and then he saves him, so like they kind of like, you know, and then they bond over like losing people, but I feel like it's just wrapped up so quickly that we don't get a chance to be like, no, but you guys are alike, and like, can't you see, like you guys are fighting the same enemy, and like, I don't know, I don't get enough. I still love Ben Schwartz doing the voice work. I mean, the voice acting from all of the animated characters is great. James Marsden, I don't know, I like him, but he's not really in it, so, you know. Jim Carrey, he's great. We already discussed Jim Carrey mostly in the first one, but yeah, well, it's a 2.
Yeah.
I'm not reaching for it, but
Yeah.
it's there.
It's solid. It's a popcorn movie, but it's not as good of a popcorn movie as...
It's like I'm homesick. Price is Right is already off.
It's a weekday, I see.
Yeah, like I know that there's probably going to be commercials, so maybe I can watch something and get some like new toy, or maybe find like, you know, a trailer out of this while I watch it. Or you're at like insert hotel here, and there's only like really like 6 stations, and this happens to be playing, so you're like, fuck it.
Law and Order, SpongeBob, and...
Or ridiculousness, yeah. So I'll give it a 2, but...
Is anyone excited to see the third one?
I feel like Joseph is kind of, because I know you like Shadow.
I am for Shadow, but if there's going to be like this one where there's so many things going on at once,
That's my
it
worry.
takes away from the focus of Shadow's storyline, because it is a pretty heartbreaking anti-hero type of storyline.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that. If they ruin that, then I just want them to focus on that versus Sonic and his new group of friends. I think that would be interesting.
Yeah.
But if there's other things going on, then...
I mean, it'll be interesting to see them work together from the get-go to fight this person.
Yeah, that's what I'm intrigued by. But if there's other things happening all around it, it's going to be probably...
I never saw Sonic, obviously because of COVID for the first one, but like I never saw any of the Sonics in theaters. So maybe like also with the presence of watching this in a movie theater, it might
add to it.
give me a different feel.
Yeah. Because the first time I saw 300, a very similar situation. I was on a flight.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And they're like, well, you should really watch that on a big screen. I was like, I don't fucking care. Don't tell me what
I
to do.
literally saw it on a 13-inch TV.
Yeah. But everyone says,
Really?
oh,
13
no,
inch
you got to see it in IMAX.
I saw it at,
blah,
like, a
blah,
friend's
blah.
house.
And I'm like, it's fucking... It was a lot of computer generation in that, too.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. It was all right.
I feel like it was more of a spectacle than people let it off to
Yeah,
be.
exactly.
But anyway, that was our thoughts on Sonic. I feel like we mentioned so many other movies around Sonic.
So Tom's not going to San Francisco?
No,
Well,
I'm
apparently not
Take it.
anymore. He's San Francisco adjacent. Anyway, that was our thoughts on Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Please be sure to see Sonic 3, I guess. if you're interested. If you end up liking it, let us know in the comments. We'll review it at some point in time. But don't forget to like, subscribe, hit us up with any questions, comments. If you have any certain feelings about Sonic, please let us know. But that's all for now. See you next time. Bye.
Happy
See ya.
holidays. Bye.
Oh yeah. Should we say that? This is this releases week of Christmas.
Oh shit.
Sorry. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays from our family to yours.
When you're at the Olive Garden, you're always family. So be sure to pick up your Olive Garden for your holiday feast, whatever it may be.
Alright.
Try those breadsticks, kids. Bye.
Thanks for listening. Until next time, the podcast, a show so sublime. Marissa, Mooney, Joseph, and Ryan signing off with glee. Join us next episode for more sequel revelry.